Thank you for tuning in to Plastic Surgery Uncensored. On this episode, we are going to talk all things scars, the myths, the reality, how to avoid them, fact versus fiction. How many times have you said, that's going to leave a mark? Ha! Listen to this episode. Maybe it won't. Thanks for tuning in to Plastic Surgery Uncensored. I'm Monique Marvez, and this is Dr. Roddy Raban, board-certified plastic surgeon right here in Beverly Hills, and you're going to just basically debunk the scar stuff and promote, if there is anything that actually does reduce scars.
Okay, so this is anyone who listens to our podcast knows that I'm relatively passionate.
You're very passionate,
and
let's be
anybody
honest.
who listens to this podcast knows that I have certain things that trigger me, and they're my pet peeves, and I have a lot of them. So I'm a plastic surgeon. I hear no less, I swear to God, no less than 10 times a week. Hi, Dr. Bond, I'm here. I want to have a tummy tuck. I want no scars. I'm here to have the scarless breast lift. I'm here to have a facelift. And the reason I'm here is because you're a plastic surgeon and there should be no scar. So let's begin by stating facts. Fact is, there is no such thing in the entire universe as scarless anything. The minute a scalpel hits your body, you have a scar. So that's that. So the question shouldn't be that you have no scar, you have a scar. The question should be, how do I get a really good scar? How do I avoid a really ugly scar? So this idea of no scar, what do you mean there's going to be a scar? You're a plastic surgeon. That's the whole reason I'm here. I'm a plastic surgeon. I'm not the Messiah. I can't not leave a scar. So let's get that out of the way because that makes me insane.
Is there a sign that says Hogwarts out there?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a sorceress. Yeah. Me and Harry Potter are the only two people that can make sure you have no scars. So now that we've figured that part out, so let's talk about, so there is the so-called ideal scar. What you should be striving for, whether it's I had a mole removed, I had my gallbladder out, I had a tummy tuck, whatever. Anytime a scalpel hits your body, what you should be striving for is what I refer to as the ideal scar.
Ideal scar.
What is the ideal scar? The ideal scar is?
The one you don't see.
Well, it's the one that is color-wise, color matches your basic color, your body color. So if you're fair-skinned, it turns to be white. The problem is when you're of colored skin, Middle Eastern, African-American, Indian, Latino, your color, let's call 0 white as can be, 10 Congolese black.
Okay.
0 to 10, let's say your color, I'm looking at you.
No, I got a scar right here.
Let's say your color is color 7.
I'm 7.
Let's just say that.
All right.
So when your body's making another scar, when your body's healing, it's making new color. The problem is you're hoping and praying to God that the new color matches color 7. If the color that comes back is 8 or 6, you're going to see it. So first criteria of a ideal scar is that the color is one that is similar to its surrounding. The second thing is that the scar or the incision be very narrow, thin. It isn't some wide scar that is in spread apart or stretches. Ooh. And we all know what that is because we've seen it either on ourselves or other people. So a narrow scar is the ideal scar because it's the least amount of scar.
Right.
The next thing is that you don't want the scar to be raised. You want it to be flat and flush to the body. So it can be narrow, but it can be ropey. Ropey means it's like you run your hand over it and you can feel it. Okay? So in general, there is no such thing as no scar, but the ideal scar is one that has a good color, is thin, and is flat.
That's what you want.
Okay. A bad scar falls into 2 categories. We just talked about it in another segment. There's the keloid and there is everything else. Now, everybody who shows up in my office says, Dr. Braun, I'm really worried about my such and such surgery, breast lift, tummy tuck, because I'm a keloider. I make keloids. And I always ask, who said so? And it's always the last guy that touched them. In other words, they went and had something done when they were a kid or whatever. It healed really crappy. The surgeon said, listen, I'm so sorry that you healed like crap. You're a keloider. You carry that along. You assume it's your fault. Done. Keloid is incredibly rare. A keloid is a predisposition. It's a diathesis. You don't just get a keloid. What is a keloid? A keloid is I went and pierced my ear, which is a tiny little puncture hole, and the scar grew to the size of a grape. So a keloid is a scar that grows outside of the area of injury. That's incredibly rare. And that only happens in people who have a predisposition like Asians and African Americans. And even them, it's super rare. Everybody else has what's called a hypertrophic scar. That's medical lingo for a shitty scar.
Okay.
It's dark. It's raised. It's wide. It doesn't look good. It itches. It just looks unsightly. Okay.
Unsightly, it's a word.
So now we got to here, I'm healing. So let me put it here. If you have a healed, mature scar,
When do you know when a scar is mature?
it's about a year to a year and a half.
Really?
In other words, when it's not tender anymore and it's not changing a lot. When you have a healed and mature scar, pretty much nothing will help you. So let's start with that. Do not waste any money on creams, lotions, potions, lasers, anything, snake oil, nothing, once your scar is healed. In other words, hey, Dr. Bond, listen, I had my appendix out when I was 12 and it looks like crap. Do you have any cream? Hey, I'm thinking of getting a laser. It's done. It's finished. It's set. The only way to fix that scar is to cut it out and start a new one. Start a new, brand new healing process. But once your scar is mature, I highly discourage you from wasting any hard-earned money on fixing it. So the question then becomes now I'm healing. I had my tummy tuck. Mm-hmm. I had a breast lift. I had a mastectomy. I had my gallbladder out.
And it's new.
It's new. It's fresh. It's just, listen, I had the surgery last week. What can I do to take my scar from the unsightly track
There's that word.
to the ideal track?
Okay. Which
So-
is thin, color matches, not raised.
You got it. You
Yeah,
see, now you understand. So that is where the $1 trillion industry is.
And it
located.
is, isn't it? Pretty close to it.
So the $1 trillion industry is in the scar wound management area. Why? Because there are three things that we have no treatment for. And once we do, whoever figures it out, we'll take Jeff Bezos by storm.
Okay.
Cellulite,
I was going to say that's number one.
stretch marks,
Uh-huh.
and scars.
Uh-huh.
So everyone thinks that, oh no, my doctor, he has a special wound management scar, da-da-da-da-da-da. He leaves no scars. Okay, so let me get this straight. Your doctor figured out the holy grail of healing, and he's keeping it a little mystery to himself, and he's not telling anyone else he's the only one that has it. Are you kidding me? Of course he's going to bottle it up and sell it for $1 gazillion. How can your doctor be the only one that has this unique cream? That already is insane. So there is no universal cream. So now I have this scar. The first question is, when do I begin all this mumbo jumbo? And the reality is you really don't want to mess with your scar for the first 10 days to 2 weeks. Why? Because it's very, very fresh and it's trying to just close. The first 6 to 8 weeks, your scar's not even doing anything. It's just barely healing. And you don't generate really thick scar and raised scar and all that for at least 6 to 8 weeks. So you want to start all your scar management sometime around 3 weeks or so. It varies, but more or less then.
Okay.
Any sooner, meaning I just had the surgery 3 days ago, is too soon. And once it's like been 6 months, the horse is out of the gate.
That's it. Scar ship sailed.
Well, it's sailing.
Okay.
It sailed once you get about to 1.5 years.
Okay.
So here are the things that do work. So pay attention.
I'm paying very close attention.
Number one,
I scar easily.
I'm going to tell you.
All right.
And by the way, these are not things that I said so. This is what science says so.
All right.
Remember, we live in
You're the science guy. I know.
No, we live in a world where when I say something or you say something, we should be saying things based on scientific evidence, or we should say this is my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? This is my opinion. Listen, I've been in practice 28 years and this is my opinion. But I'm not saying this based on my opinion. This is where the science is at. So the first thing is everyone talks about scar creams, scar cream this, scar cream that, scar cream this. First of all, the only thing in scar cream that has any science is the silicone. So if you have scar cream and it's acai berry, honey, and scar cream, the only thing silicone, the only thing in that concoction that has any science is the silicone. So let's back up. When we first started dealing with scars, we started, where's the number one, who has the most scars? Burn patients. People who get burned make scars on a level 3 million times worse than the average patient. So anything we want to try in scar management, we do in burn patients. So silicone sheets, rubber pieces of silicone were part of early management of burn patients. So you would put that sheet of silicone on top of the scar, and for whatever reason, the science is still a little bit uncertain. It seemed to show some improvement. The problem was that sheets of silicone is very inconvenient. It creates heat and moisture. It created irritation, and there was a lot of non-compliance, meaning patients didn't like to use it. So what they did is they melted the silicone and made it into a liquid form, which is now the basic principle of most scar creams. Oh. So when you say scar cream and you look at the ingredients, blah, 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 one of them is liquid silicone. So what you want to do is find something that has a very high grade, clean liquid silicone. Not magic, just going to help a little bit. The second thing that helps, which is my favorite thing in the whole world, if you're going to do one thing, is pressure. Pressure? It's the cheap, free man's scar management. What are you talking about? People are always looking for something expensive. The number one thing to change your outcome is pressure. What do you mean by pressure? Pressure comes in 3 forms.
College in Japan?
What?
Nothing. I said going to college in Japan.
Yeah, no. So number one was the old-fashioned garments. So when you were a burn patient, and still are, and you want to put that silicone sheet on your body, they would put you in these garments, like a glove for your hand that was burned, a mask for your face. What it did was put so much pressure, and it's pushing on the collagen. So this is science, we know. When you look at regular tissue, the collagen is nicely ordered, but in a scar, it's all jumbled. This collagen is going all over the place. So when you put pressure, you're massaging the collagen into order. You're forcing the collagen, which is going all over the place, to go in one line, which then causes it to soften and settle. So garments did that, but who the hell's going to wear a garment?
Pressure garments. Back in the day, after you got anything, they'd make you wear girdles for weeks.
So now what I do is 2 things instead. One is physical digital massage. Take your favorite salve. I love Aquaphor.
Oh, yeah.
Take it, put it on the scar, and every morning, every afternoon, and every night for 5 minutes, massage it, and massage it, and massage it, and massage it, and massage it. And
with pressure.
With pressure.
With your thumb.
With your thumb. And I guarantee you, over time, that scar will have a much better outcome in terms of being flat than if you didn't.
And you could make this fun, too, because I'm not advocating promiscuity, but if you have a significant other with strong thumbs,
there you have it.
This could turn into a good time.
So in terms of mating, you could look for people with like big thumbs.
Yeah.
So, and the last part, which is by far, anyone to my patient knows, is paper tape. So listen carefully. Paper tape. Not any tape. Not the tape you get at a hardware store. Not duct tape. Paper tape. So what's the story? Paper tape is breathable. So when you put the tape on, it breathes so it doesn't get like irritated.
Right.
It's very, very mild adhesive. But what I think it does...
You get that at a stationery store.
No, you have to get that from a... Listen, I've had patients try and find it online. They come to the office and we give it to you.
Oh.
It creates what I believe is micro pressure. So the tape creates pressure, but since it's on 24 hours a day, sum total of 3 to 6 months... I think the sum total of all that little pressure is a lot of pressure. It's kind of like Chinese water torture. Mm-hmm. Drip, drip, drip. And over the course of a week, it could burr a hole through wherever it's dripping. Mm-hmm. So we said liquid silicone, pressure in the form of either a garment, massage, and taping. Now, huge billion-dollar area is lasers. So this is the deal.
I've heard this. And people get pretty excited about this, Dr.
Yeah, they get pretty excited
No,
about
they
it.
do. They get wrapped around the axle.
Pretty excited about it because everyone wants to do something that's going to make them better. And then at the end, they realize, wow, I just did 7 sessions of blah-blah-blah laser, and I'm maybe marginally better. So laser is okay and good for color.
One of the 3.
But even the color, if you left alone, would likely go away on its own. Laser is not going to make your wide scar narrow, and it sure as hell ain't going to make your raised scar flat. I am not a believer of laser for scar management. Laser for hair removal? Sure. Laser for brown sunspots? Maybe. Laser for skin resurfacing? Fine wrinkles? Sure. Laser for sizable gallbladder or scar that looks like a rope, you're just going to spend tons of money going to 12 sessions, and at the end, you're going to be more or less the same. Next one is steroid injections. Oh my God. So listen carefully. When you get a scar, usually you go to your dermatologist. And I have so many dermatology friends and I love them all. But first thing they tend to do is go, let me go get you some steroid, Kenalog. They get it injected in zits, they get injected in this. And what happens is, what is the steroid going to do? The steroid is like napalm. You inject it in the scar and it causes it to fully melt.
What melts?
It's so powerful that it actually destroys some of the collagen in it. The problem is you have really no control to the extent of its melting effects. Sometimes it does zero. Sometimes it melts it so much that your scar now became super wide and atrophied. And sometimes you get collateral damage to regular skin that's around your scar, now it's melted away. I am not a fan of, in general, steroid injections. Maybe at the time of your surgery, there are some unique instances, but by and large, this idea that I'm just going to keep injecting steroid, you can ask anyone who's had it, they're usually quite disappointed. Two other areas is retinol. Retinol is what? It's retin-A.
Isn't that retin-A? Yeah.
So retinol you can use when you have a really fine scar and you want to it's like fine grit sandpaper. You got a hunky gnarly scar. You using retinol or creams isn't going to do nothing.
All right.
Maybe at the beginning as your scar is healing and it's healing nicely and you just want to keep it kind of at bay, you might consider using a retinol. Not a fan of it in general. I don't tend to use it, but that's what you got to look at it is super high grit sandpaper.
It's not going to take the big problems.
No. And the last thing is actually tattooing. So tattooing, what is tattooing going to do? It's not going to make your scar go away. It's going to camouflage color.
So do they tattoo it the color that your skin is?
Correct. So you have a scar.
You can lighten a dark scar with...
You can darken a light scar.
So if you have one of those white spots.
So if you are a dark-skinned individual and you have a surgery around your areola and that scar heals flat and narrow, but super white because it didn't generate pigment, but you have a dark areola, you can see that scar from 100 miles away because it's a white scar in a dark pigment. You go to a tattoo artist who knows what they're doing and boom, they inject pigment around it and it's gone.
So it doesn't look like your Chi-Chi's wearing sunglasses.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the things that I do think work. Now, what I think doesn't work. We have heard all of these things. They're on infomercials. They're told to you by your grandmother. They're told to you by your nosy friend. This is just what I refer to as the snake oil. No science behind vitamin E.
Really?
None.
That's like one of those
it's just an urban legend. Go find me a paper, a legit paper in medical science journal that says that vitamin E works, and I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Mederma. Oh,
What
come
is
on.
Mederma?
Mederma is the most famous scar cream, but it's the only scar cream that doesn't have any real silicone in it. It's a brand that people have gotten used to. So they've done an amazing job of marketing. But Mederma doesn't have a lot of good science. Cocoa butter. My gosh, I rub cocoa butter all over my belly. I never got a stretch mark or whatever.
I've heard that.
The reason cocoa butter works is because you're massaging with a salve. So it's not the cocoa butter. It's the fact that you're massaging with some lubricant.
Pressure.
And if you massage with Aquaphor, cocoa butter, Mazola, extra virgin olive oil, you're massaging the scar.
I've heard pure lanolin from a sheep.
There you have it. Papaya and bromelain and arnica. So those three are not going to help you with your scar. They may help you with bruising and they may help you with inflammation, like you're about to have a facelift or surgery or your eyelids, and you take arnica or bromelain. They help with inflammation things, but they certainly are not going to stop you from getting a scar, and they sure as hell not going to treat your scar.
Okay.
So this is the last part before we depart. 99% of your ultimate scar, everyone listening?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
99% of your ultimate scar is divided into half of it is your predisposition and your DNA.
Are we back to genetics?
And the other half is your surgeon's diligence, compulsiveness, and accuracy of closure. So let's go through this. If you are predisposed to making crappy scars and your cousin is predisposed to making amazing scars, there's nothing in the world that you can do to change your DNA predisposition. That's factual. if you're predisposed to making dark, thick, raised scars, and someone else is predisposing to make light, thin, flat scars, that's predisposed. It's in your DNA genetics. The other half of it is who is closing you? How are they closing you? Are they using staples? Are they using glue? Are they using stickers? Are they closing one layer? Are they closing 3 layers? Are they using absorbable suture? Are they using permanent suture? Is there tension? Is there ischemia? Is there fat necrosis?
What is ischemia?
Ischemia means that they did too much aggressive dissection. There's not enough blood supply. The bottom line is that you're opening something up and then you're bringing it back together. Mm-hmm. The closer the edges are to each other, the less work your body needs to do to weld that gap shut. So listen, if someone closes you rapidly in the middle of a tummy tuck or what, your general surgeon doesn't give a shit and just closes you, and the edges look all like beef jerky, you've seen it online, the edges are all not together and they go away, your body has to now make up the difference. All these gaps and holes between, your body has to weld it. So your body makes a lot of scar to close the difference. If your scar is brought together beautifully well at the edges and there's barely any gap, then your body says, oh shit, I don't really need to do much. It's already brought together. So the amount of cement or the stuff that goes between brick,
mortar.
The mortar is much less. So listen carefully. You have no control over your DNA, but you sure as hell have control over who and how you're being closed. So you want to make sure that when you get a mole removed, when you go get your gallbladder taken out, when you go get your C-section, when you go get a breast aug, when you go get a tummy tuck, that your surgeon cares, takes his or her time, and he or she is actually the one closing you. We've had this conversation 100 times. 99% of surgeons do not close their own wounds in plastic surgery.
People are shocked by that fact, Dr. Raban.
They have their tech close part of it. They have a junior, some nurse, a PA. Someone else is closing because let's say you did the majority of the work and you don't want to close the crap. You don't want to close a breast lift and a tummy tuck and a body lift. You're tired. So you have somebody else close and you're like, well, I don't understand. What do you mean? You're like, what do you mean? What do I mean? He closed half of it or all of it. So you want to make sure that your surgeon, and you got to ask him directly. You got to be like, hey, listen,
look him in the eye.
I hope you don't be offended by this, but are you closing all of my incisions? All of them? Is anybody else closing? Do you have anyone helping you? Are you closing multiple layers? And that's really the only dial you can control. Because if you control that dial from the beginning, then the rest of this crap is not really necessary and is less relevant. Because at the end of the day, all of this amounts to 1%. If you walk out of your surgery with a terribly closed incision, there ain't no cream, no lotion, no potion, no laser that's going to help you. And there's nothing you can do. You're destined for a crappy scar. So you need to work backwards and not worry about, okay, so I'm having surgery tomorrow. Can you tell me what cream I need to buy? You need to I'm having surgery tomorrow. I pray that my guy is going to close me well. That's the message.
That's the better prayer.
That's the take-home message.
Okay.
So you need to hold your surgeons accountable. And obviously your plastic surgeon should be held more accountable than your other surgeons because at the end of the day, that's what you're paying them for. Closure. Maybe your OB, you paid them for them to save your life and deliver your baby, and they didn't do the best job closing. You can cut them some slack. But your plastic surgeon damn well better be there closing, and he better do a good job.
Aesthetics.
Or you should ask for your money back. So anyways, I really wanted to, I'm glad that we had this segment. This is sort of the ABCs of what I think is scar management. And do not be coaxed into thinking there's some magic remedy or bullet. And when you go to a plastic surgeon and they say to you, listen, I'm going to do your tummy tuck and I offer scar management, you should be like, what does that mean? What do you mean you offer me scar management? Why don't you just close me well?
They'll give you the cream. They'll give you the talk.
They'll give you the talk, but all that's not going to matter. So anyways, that's my one of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm really happy that we had this very finite conversation.
Scars are very important, Dr. Raban.
I know. I hear about it every day.
I'm sure. Probably, I leave scars, but that's more because I say stuff I shouldn't. You actually make people prettier.
I like it.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored, all about scars and how not to get them. The big three. I paid attention. We Appreciate it. And again, follow you on Instagram. We
Yes.
can't say that enough times.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram, which is Dr. Rady Rahban, DrRadyRahban, and also please share this with friends, family,
Yes.
and other people. Share, subscribe, and download.